So should we jump onto the security part? Because this is one part where enterprise really goes a different route from the pro account, right?
Definitely, this is basically the security tier. Depending on the scale of the company, depending on what industry you're in, you can actually need. This is where Frederick said you can need enterprise even when you're below 25 users, because the security aspects are super important and the permissions. So let's have a look.
This is where you get your single sign-on. You get your workspace permission. So workspaces become actually more than yet another folder in your structure. It actually gets its own permission settings, expanded or advanced account permissions, and you can even.
And that means basically that you can say which role is allowed to create private board, main boards, which role is allowed to export your data outside of your account.
Which is really important.
So that account permission is actually like fundamental for information security aspects.
For a good example of that is something that I guess many people have seen happen. Basically, a salesperson quits his job to go work somewhere places and brings with them all your data.
You can also, in the account permission, restrict who's allowed to use the mention everyone feature.
Which is so good.
And I just want to add on the account permissions part is so crucial for most of our customers, because we see not only our customers but across the whole industry. This is one of the biggest topics. It has been for quite a few years. It's not looking to slow down. So that's both regarding information security, if you're using it for, let's say, for sales or for HR. Basically, GDPR is the big question mark here. And that is pivotal to comply with those rules that I'm sure most IT departments would expect for many organizations to manage.
And I also think that the next one, the integrations permission, is also quite vital, because bigger organizations, they want to control how data flows in and out of their different systems. And having every single user being able to set up an integration to any other system is probably not the way to go if you're keen on information security.
No, it's not a good policy usually, at least not in a somewhat larger organization, to just let people have a go at it. When we come to the board permission, there are some differences from what you can do in the pro account, where you can, of course, you can restrict columns or the viewing permissions of columns and stuff like that. Or very soon in your enterprise account, you can also restrict items.
Yeah,
so the actual rows.
And you can restrict item viewing, and this is being tested currently, so it's not that far away, right? So what it basically does is, if you're not assigned to an item, you can't see it. Yeah. Meaning that we can actually mix data from making it make sense to the workflow, but still restricted from people. So let's say that you use Monday as a case management system. You might manage very sensitive information, so you want all the different agents or handlers only to be able to see their own stuff. But as a manager, you don't want to work over 12 different boards just because you want to segregate the data. So I think that's a good example of how the item level permission is going to change everything. We can do some really cool stuff with CRM builds down the line when it comes.
I actually, me and our other colleagues who's not here tonight, Gustav, we're actually starting a build where this is a big part of it, because it's a financial institute, basically. So they need to restrict internally who can see what, because it's highly regulated. Then, of course, you have such things as IP restrictions. So you can actually say, no, you can only log into Monday while you're at work on our IP, or you have to go through like a VPN tunnel or something to actually increase the security of your login. Then you have such things as session management, which is really good. So you can actually keep on track of that people do log out and then you get expanded activity logs, which is great, especially if you're a really large company that's under the review of an auditor or something like that. You might mean that. Then, of course, the audit log, the panic button. Do you want to say something about that? One of you two guys.
I have never had a client use it, but I think one of the coolest feature. I've never seen it in another SaaS service. just to get everybody up and running on what the panic button is. It's actually a button in your admin panel. You press it when you suspect that you have unauthorized people inside of your Monday account. What will happen is that your whole account will freeze. You won't be able to interact with it. You won't be able to view it. Then you need to contact Monday with double IDs proving who you are, and then they will help you slowly unlock your account and regaining access of it. So far, we have had over 450 clients in Monday. I've never heard about anybody having to use the panic button, but it's not only like, it could also be someone who uses someone else's credential and behaves in a way. So it's not about just like they accessing the data for the backend. It's actually mostly used for if someone is sharing their login or storing their logins in a way they're not supposed to, meaning that someone else has found it. Do you have any? Do you know if someone actually had to use the panic button, Matthias?
No, and I'm glad to say that, but I'm glad to because that's always the best, that we don't have to use it. But I think I guess it's a testament to where we really care about security, and it's not just a stamp on the website. It's actually built throughout the whole solution. So I hope that no one will ever need to use it, but I'm glad that it's there.
Before we move on to the EU servers, we got a question about when will the only allow users to see items that are assigned to. When will that enterprise feature be released? Like we said, it's currently being tested. We have some alpha users, as far as I know, Matthias. I don't know exactly the roadmap for it, but we have seen it working in action, and they're doing some tweaking based on those user tests. Do you have any other information, Matthias?
No, only thing I can say is stay on the edge of your seat, and hopefully you'll have some good news in not too far future.
Yeah, and it's actually announced for those of you who are already on an enterprise account. It's actually already announced in your account. If you go to your board permission settings, you can actually see it that it's coming soon. So that usually means it's coming rather soon, actually.
The UI is already in place.
Yeah.
Okay, so EU servers. Yes, you get to choose EU servers when you start or convert into an EU account, enterprise account. No, we're not saying that the only way to be GDPR compliant is having an EU server, but EU servers will make it easier for you to be GDPR compliant.
Exactly, because it's not only the GDPR itself you have to take into consideration, it's also the Schrems II Act. So there are a few legal or regulatory things you actually have to keep in mind here. And what EU basically did was to get itself the world's most rigorous privacy act. So it is basically up to very, very, very high standards. You can do it with and keep on the US service, but it is harder, and you need to do a bit more maintenance, and you need to keep a lot more up to date with certain things. So it can be done, but it is trickier. And for example, here in Sweden now, just a few months ago, all governmental organizations or municipalities, everything basically public, was mandated that they aren't even allowed anymore to have something outside the EU, so data resident.
Yeah, just the last to top that off is that I think what's really important is that GDPR is we know it's not a software we buy and then we're compliant. It's a practice within the business, and so just really want to iterate or emphasize what Thomas and Frederick said, that it makes the life a lot easier to turn around when auditors or any of such would come and knock on the door, having it within the EU.
Some of the other features you get will also make your life, not only the EU service, but also stuff like the audit log, the activity log, stuff like that will be so much easier for you to handle if you ever get audited as well, to basically prove that you have done everything right. And of course, all the permissions, because GDPR is very much about who can see what, who can access what data, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So enterprise is really a very, very, very good account type if you want to be make sure that you really are compliant to the rather strict rules of GDPR.
I don't know if is it too strict saying that the only reason to or the only way be GDPR compliant on a pro account is if you actually run every single board as a private board.
More or less, you are fairly correct, but it also depends what data you are actually storing and stuff like that, because not all pigs are equal when it comes to
No, of course.
So basically, if you are only storing like low value information, such as a phone number or an email address, which is it is protected and it is a personal data, so you need to manage it, but it doesn't have the same value as for, say, for example, your Gallup or something, and you actually keep a track of what people are voting for or what their religious denomination is or something like that. That would be much worse, or the worst of all, medical data.
Yeah.
So you aren't far from truth, actually.
I think this is like a good point to move forward. I also want to say that if someone wants to discuss Monday and GDPR, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. We do manage those issues on a daily basis with all our clients, and we do have the knowledge and the capability in house. So feel free to reach out if you want to make sure that you're GDPR compliant.
Yeah, feel free.
Thanks for watching. If you liked our content, remember to subscribe.